Well, seeing no other members of the public, I will bring it back to the council. One of the things I will mention, however, is that, Flood Park has been offered by San Mateo County to Menlo Park. That's a huge park. And if Menlo Park accepts it, it's going to make available a huge amount of what appears to be open space. And I think maybe one of the considerations might be that might easily be a better place to put this with greater long-term possibilities in our park. So that's just a comment, but I'm bringing it back to the council, and I would ask the council for any further comments.
Jim, we walked that park a couple of years ago, and I think it's a wonderful thing to have master gardeners in there. I mean, we were there during the volunteer day, and the more I think you can try and encourage people to volunteer at that park, the more you can encourage people to pick a weed, to understand what's going on at that park, to encourage people to look at aphids on roses, to deal with volunteer plants, to want to make it a better park through volunteerism and not incur additional costs. Isn't that what all of us want when we talk about the budget and what the park costs? So I think that we can talk about Flood Park, but I think that this is exactly the sort of thing that we've been talking about when we talk about, and a while back we talked about a volunteer plan at the park. This seems to be just the perfect kind of situation at the park, except for the fact, I understand, that it would have a semi-permanent facility somewhere, and it would be within the corporation yard. That really doesn't bother me because of that 30-day provision, and because I don't see that there's going to be any other facility that's impacted by what it is we envision doing within the next few years at that park, even with outsourcing potentially. And I say potentially, everybody don't want to upset maintenance of the park. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful program for adults, children, and anyone who could volunteer. And I think it would be a nice thing to see some of those 5-year weeds go away. So I recommend it. I would like to know who's paid for those legal fees, and maybe something could be worked out, even if it's a sharing program. And I say that because, we did look at this chicken issue a while back, and we said that $3,000 was something that the town could not afford, and we said no to people who believed very passionately that that was something that they believed in. And I don't want to say no to people that we can't incur that costs on their behalf, and yes to other people when we've incurred legal fees for something like this. I don't want to be selective in saying that we choose issues, and we should be fair across the board. So I think that's something we should look into, and perhaps some costs should be borne by this organization if they haven't already. But be that as it may, apart from that, I think it's a wonderful program, and I think it would be a great addition to our park and to our budget as well.
How does the council feel about the term of the agreement?
I don't think that really matters if I can.
But it does
my personal opinion is that I think we should do the 5-year term cancelable after 2 years and give them at least 2 full years of, security, because nothing's really going to be happening within the next 2 years in that area, I don't think. For 500 square feet. I mean, that was one of my questions, is the size of it, for sure. If they're willing to do the cancelable at any time the minute they erect it.
I mean, that's a pretty big.
That's a pretty big.
$12,000 to $15,000.
Denise has something to say.
Excuse me if I may. I'm a member of the Master Gardeners program, and being involved with this project, I do want to say that the Master Gardeners will be going to the planning department and going through the planning review process. We will be getting a building permit and going through all the regular processes on any structure. And we have a structural structural engineer reviewing the drawings. With regards to the contract, we believe, our understanding is that we need a minimum of 3 years because of the level of investment. And it is cancelable by you, but
It's going to cause a lot of hard feelings if canceled.
Yes, and I don't think we would cancel it unless it were in good faith or some
Well, we
emergency.
needed the land for some other purpose.
Well, you know, good.
Excuse me if I may, I've been going to that park and being involved for many, many years, and certainly however the town decides to maintain the park, a park and a facility of 22 acres does require a certain amount of space for corporation yard. Secondly, the space that we're using is adjacent to the well, and it would be unlikely that the space that directly adjacent to the well would be utilized maybe for robust recreational purposes of any kind. And if it was outsourced or however you want to do it, you do need space for equipment and tools and things like mulch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a corporation yard is needed for a facility of that size, and we are keeping within the footprint of what would be utilized, I think, by the town for a long time.
So while there is a term in there that says you can cancel within 30 days and there are no consequences of termination, well, I acknowledge that, that's been there. I think it's in bad faith if you sign an agreement for multiple years knowing that you might want to cancel in a shorter period of time, first off. Secondly, for the play school that's in the park where the town residents are using it, we only gave them a 1-year renewal. And so I think, really, I have absolutely the utmost respect for the organization, but I think the timing is bad. If it would come back after we had a little more time to consider, we might say, yes, I don't know, what your time frame is. Maybe somebody from the organization could say how fast you have to make a decision and what your other options are. But we could get a little bit more time and view, but I think that going with a 5-year contract, and even if it's cancelable, would be bad faith. You want to live up to your obligations on this contract. So,
well, we need enough time to get the permits, and we've also already talked to the fire department, et cetera. So we know some of the issues that need to be addressed. But we have to get all those permits, get all the other things that need to be done. Then we need to begin to assemble the greenhouse. We need to have it in place by the end of the year, no later, so that we can begin to grow the seedlings for next year, and then the plants for.
So December 31st.
Well, probably before then, because and it'll probably take 3 to 4 months to build it. So it isn't like we're actually going to get much use out of it this year, but it's got to be in place. It's got to be ready to go before the end of the year.
And your other options that you're looking at, or is this
Don't have any other options.
Have you approached any other cities?
We haven't found any other places where we could put a greenhouse.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve this contract as is laid out.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we now go to item number 16. Item number 16, the data sheet has been modified. And Louise, you might want to comment on that. On item 16. The new data sheet. Don, go ahead.
Mayor and member of the City Council, staff has revised this item by deleting the $15,000 originally included in your report. The $15,000 is the town's share of the class survey that the public corporations the county decided not to receive that $15,000 in doing the survey. but will have the libraries receive their portion of the survey that they need to do for their future building site.
Okay, are there any questions? No?
That works for me.
Okay. Any public comments? With no public comments, I will ask that we approve an amended capital improvement program for the 2010-2011 to reflect changes in the project delivery.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we go to number 17. Yeah, 17 was Bill.
I have a question on that as well.
You want Bill to keep forward?
Yeah, I pulled that item for a specific reason. In reading the write-up, it says that, we hired a consultant to identify where the utilities were, and then we found out that the reports we got were erroneous and/or problematic, etc., paraphrasing. And that's resulted in the town having to bear a cost of $253,289.55. And my concern on that is that when we hire a consultant, there's got to be some liability on their part when they give us a report. I'm not sure if maybe our terrific public services contract that we talked about earlier adequately protected the town from something like this. But it'd be nice if we could get a comment on that, maybe, or have our attorney actually look at what the services were actually performed under, and to see if anybody is actually liable for this other than us.
I don't know that we had a consultant do this. It says the contractor got complicated. Where do you see
These
the difference?
locations were obtained by a consultant during the consultant design, so.
Where?
See that right up here in the first introduction.
It's in the parenthetical, although utility locations were obtained by a consultant during design.
Yeah, right. Right.
The last time we had this, it was on Selby, and what happened was it was PG&E on its maps that had the utilities marked wrong. The depth was wrong, and what we did was we actually went and sued PG&E, or we made a claim against PG&E, because Selby ended up costing about $500,000 more than it otherwise would have. We had to delay it a year, remember? Okay. And so we brought a claim against PG&E, and we ended up settling with PG&E for the additional cost. In the meantime, asphalt had increased in price. And so in this case, I don't know if it's the contractor, the consultant, or PG&E. Who actually is at fault here?
My comment is that I don't think that the town should be at fault for this.
Well, basically, before you start a project, you go out and, you USA the project, you find out where the utilities are. And when those were marked, it turned out that they were marked incorrectly, and we had to lower the drainage line. What I asked the consultant to do, though, was to look at, it was rather complicated, so we changed the contract to time and materials rather than the bid price, because the bid prices didn't apply to that much deeper a storm drain system. And what I've asked them to do is look at difference in cost. If we had known those utilities were at that location in the first place, how much more would that system have cost? And it appears that the time and materials cost and what the bid cost would have been at that time were very similar. The cost for this change we would have incurred anyway if we had determined where these utilities were in the first place. We would have designed a much more expensive system. We had to design it on the fly. And I have asked the consultant to look at their invoices for anything that they did not adequately correct, and that they had to design, again, that I won't pay the consultant for their redesign. But anything that we would have, if we had designed a more expensive system in the first place, then we would have had more expensive